This is apportionment with Hamilton's method. Alright, first thing with Hamilton's method, we're going to calculate each state's standard quota. And by the way, these are the numbers from the previous section in the notes. So states A through F, same populations for each. To get a standard quota for a state, first we need to know how many seats are given within the particular problem. So in this problem there were 250 seats that are available, so let's go ahead and write that down. So we have 250 seats. And then we need to find the standard divisor. So the standard divisor comes from taking the total population and dividing that by the amount of seats available. So the standard divisor is equal to 12,500,000. Again, these are just numbers from the previous section, and divided by 250, and that gives us 50,000. Alright, that is our standard divisor. Then we're going to take that number and divide each state's individual population by that number. So 50,000. So for example, state A, to get the standard quota for A, we would take 1,646,000 and divide that by 50,000. And that's where that 32.92 is coming from. So that's what you'll get, 32.92. Okay, and that's the quota for A. And we can do the same thing with B. So 6,936,000 divided by 50,000. That's going to get us 138.72, which is right here. So, and we could do this for all six, but it's the same every single time. So, and then at the end, you should notice that the exact standard quota should always add up to a perfect 250, or the amount of seats. Okay, in this case, it's 250. All right, step 2. Now that we have that exact quota, we're going to take that and each state's exact quota and bring the number down. So we're going to round down no matter what the decimal value is. So notice that 32.92, if you were doing traditional rounding, that would round up to 33. But this is Hamilton's method, and we're rounding everything down, so that becomes 32. 138.72, again, would round up usually, but we're just going to round down to 138. 3.08 rounds down to 3. And we do this for all of them. In the end, what happens is that when you add up all the whole numbers after rounding everything down, it comes out to be only 246 seats. Now, there are 250 available in the problem, so what that means is that we have 4 surplus seats. So 4 extra seats that can be handed out. Alright. Step 3, we need to give those seats away. Okay, we got 4 of them, and we're going to assign those to certain states. And all we really have to do is look for the states that have the highest fractional part in their numbers. So, for example, state A has an exact quota of 32.92. Now, the fractional part of that is the 0.92, and that's our highest fractional part in the whole list. So that's why it says first right here. Sorry, that's why it says first right here. So that's the first seat given out. So instead of 32, we're going to add 1, and that's where the whole 33 comes from. All right. The next highest fractional part is state D with the 0.82. So we're going to give that second extra seat to state D, and that's where they get 42 from. And third, state F, and then there are only 4 seats, so the last extra seat goes to state B. Okay, and what this does, it fills in the gap, and now we're back to 250 seats, the original amount allowed in the problem. Alright, so here's the chart as a whole. We have our standard quota that we solved for. We rounded everything down. Okay, then we look at each state's residue, and then we assign the surplus seats depending on, of course, how many there are to the highest residue. All right, and then you have your final apportionment from Hamilton's method. Only problem with this is, if you notice, there's some states that are left out of the surplus seats, right? They didn't get an extra seat in the end. And with state C, it looks like, well, that makes sense. I mean, 3.08, that's much closer to the 3 than it is to 4. But for state E, 13.70, traditionally that would round up to 14, so maybe not the most fair thing, but that's just the way it works out. Alright, which brings us to our last thing in this section, the quota rule. No state should be apportioned a number of seats smaller than its lower quota or larger than its upper quota. When a state is apportioned a number smaller than its lower quota, we call that a lower quota violation. And when a state is apportioned a number larger than its upper quota, we call it an upper quota violation.